Next on the Broadway Show, I'm sitting down with rock icon Melissa Etheridge to talk about bringing her one-woman show to Broadway. Plus, we're taking a walk with one of the stars of The Cottage, Laura Bell Bundy. And up to Batt, Batt is on the show to talk about his timely new off-Broadway play, Pay the Writer. I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this is the Broadway Show. Autumn is in the air, and we're really excited to bring you another stacked episode of the Broadway Show. I'm Tamsen Fadal. Grammy winner Melissa Etheridge brings her story and songs to the stage this fall with My Window on Broadway. We had a chance to chat at Open Jar Studios. Talk about what inspired this show. I know you had a really successful off-Broadway run.
Yeah, it's been such a dream for such a long time. I grew up in the Midwest, and Broadway was just, we'd sing the Broadway songs in school. It was a dream. I happened to head west first. I went to California, worked on songwriting and stuff, but always the dream of creating something and presenting it on Broadway as a full story was always there. So when I actually met my wife, we were friends before we were together. We wanted to do a TV show, but we both found that we have such a love of Broadway. We said, we have so many projects that we had started, and finally this one about 2-3 years ago started to take, it was Bruce who really kind of kicked the door open. They said, well, Bruce can do it, maybe Melissa Etheridge can do it. Yes, so we just got right in there.
Talk about that. Did you talk to Bruce about it and what he went through the journey?
I have not actually talked to him personally, but watching what he did, seeing it, and then understanding how it was done and what it was done, the way it was done, it's like, okay, that's a great base and starting point. My show is more theatrical. There's I brought some great video and lighting in. My wife helped me write it, so it's got more of a story and really takes us everywhere.
Now don't quit till I'm a star on Broadway.
The title, My Window, appropriate for so many reasons, obviously, but also because of the fact that you have always been so open with your audience and with fans and just with people, and anytime I see an interview with you, and it's just really something that not everybody does, and you just really have made it a point to do that no matter what you're going through, whether it's a high or it's a low.
I found years ago when I first started in the recording business, when I made my first album, I was playing in lesbian bars. I was out socially and to my family and everything, and this was just music I was making. And the mainstream recording industry started coming to see me, and it took about 5 years before someone would sign me. The record company said, well, if you don't flag wave, that's fine. And so, and I was like, 3 years later I'm flag waving. But it was a way to slowly, be open about who I was, and a few years later I came out. And once I did that, once I kind of had the experience of being honest, man, there's a lot of power in that. There really is. You lose a lot of your power when you try to hide things and are always worried, and it's not good for your health. So once I had that experience, then when I had my health crisis, I remember people saying, oh, you shouldn't tell people you have cancer, they're going to think you're weak. And I was like, stop, that's the worst. The only way I'm going to get any power is to say, hey, this is cancer, this is my journey through it, this is what I did, this is, and now next year I'll be 20 years cancer free. So I've just, once I started speaking truthfully, it's more comfortable for me to be open and honest in all the ups and downs of my life.
I know you're open in another area with your new book. It's a hard journey to write a book in any circumstance. What you're talking about, Talking to My Angels. Can you talk a little bit about that?
When the pandemic hit, I lost my son to an opioid addiction. And it was just, the isolation was too much for him. So after he passed, that knocked me sideways. And I knew that it was going to be in my art now, that sort of experience, just like the coming out, just like the cancer, that this was going to be something I was going to talk about, because there are hundreds of thousands of families suffering from this, from either a loved one who is addicted or who they've lost. And there's so much guilt and shame in it. And I have spent so much of my life knowing that, working this spiritual path, this way of being now, and knowing that guilt and shame also makes you sick, and also is just, it serves no purpose. So making art out of that, walking through that, I knew that I would be asked about it. I knew, people know I'm an open book and an honest person. And so writing this book really helped me actually heal a lot, to just talk about it, to go, yeah, this is the truth. This is how I felt. I felt helpless. Do I do more? Do I do less? Have I done too much? Have I not done enough? All those things that you can go through, and how it comes down to, I know that my son and his spirit, which is in non-physical and knows no more pain, no contrast, he does not want me to suffer now. So why should I suffer with any of that? And that's what I walk every day, and that's what I hope to show in the book, and I hope to show also in the Broadway show.
Tony Award nominee Laura Bell Bundy is back on Broadway for the first time in 15 years in the hilarious and sexy comedy, The Cottage. Let's send it out to Charlie Cooper.
Laura, we're so excited to have you.
I'm
first
happy,
and foremost.
happy to be walking down the street with you, the crazy streets of New York.
Walking you to work. Listen, you star in The Cottage, which is just like this big, hilarious, fun show. Tell us a little bit about it and about what drew you to Sylvia.
The Cottage is about people just having affairs and messing up their marriages and, life.
Casual.
Casual. We've all been there. Anyway, it's a comedy, and it's very much like a spoof on Noel Coward or Oscar Wilde, or those sort of like 1920s English romps.
Yeah.
But this is taking it even further. So we have cigarettes in crazy places, all these wild antics happen, and some people would say it's farce-like. So it is so much fun. And this play, this cast is a hoot. Different things happen every night. No show has ever been the same. It is just, it's wild.
What's it like working with Jason Alexander and just like nailing those comedy bits throughout the show?
Well, here's the thing. He's a comedic genius, and in that way, that if you're trying a bit, he's gonna tell you whether or not it's funny. And if it's not working, he's gonna help you figure out how to make it funny. And so that's the great thing about working with him. One of the great things about working with him is that I felt very safe in his comedic hands to try things and see how it's working and to kind of massage stuff.
I know that in your real life, you're so big on women empowerment. And I think what's interesting about Sylvia is that she's empowered to be a little messy, right?
Yeah.
But still empowered, right?
I believe as an actor, we have to make messes, right? We kind of have to make a mess of our life to know what it feels like to experience the varied amount of emotions that life can give us. So if we try to stay safe all the time, we're not going to experience the things we need to know as artists to be able to emulate those back on stage. And what I love about Sylvia is that she goes through this journey. Now, for me, it took me years to go through this journey. She goes through a journey in 2 hours in the morning that have her going from this sort of blissful being in love to kind of seeing that she can be something without the love of a man, and that maybe she does want to actually truly be free, and maybe she can be independent. And so she goes through this incredible journey to end up in this place of like authenticity and empowerment. And that's one of the things that drew me to doing this play and to playing Sylvia, besides the fact that it's also hilarious.
Well, listen, we're here.
We're here.
You're at work.
I'm at work.
Break a leg.
Let me go put my wig on.
You go do that.
And my
much, Laura.
negligee. Thank you, doll.
Thank you.
The box office is now open for the new musical Harmony, and creators Barry Manilow and Bruce Sussman were there to greet fans and sell a few tickets. The stars of Harmony also were there to give the crowd a little taste of what they can expect from the show.
Harmony, unforgettable harmony. The box office at the Ethel Barrymore Theater is now open!
Performances begin October 18th.
This is the Broadway Show, and we're back in just a few.
Hi, I'm Jason Alexander, and you're watching The Broadway Show.
Thanks for staying with us for this latest episode of the Broadway Show. I'm so glad you're here. A timely new off-Broadway play brings Marcia Cross, Ron Canada, and Bryan Batt back to the New York City stage. It's about the complicated relationship between a legendary literary agent and his best friend and most successful client. Let's send it out to Paul Wontorek.
Hey, look, I'm with my favorite madman, Mr. Bryan Batt. How you doing?
Great, good to see you, Paul.
Good to have you back on the board.
Thank you, back on Broadway.
It's a hot summer day,
Oh, yes.
and we are going to walk through your resume.
Well, that'll be fun.
So this spot right here,
Yeah.
this is the Winter Garden Theater,
Yes.
home of Back to the Future. When you were here, there's just one word up there. One word. Cats.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Claw, paw, claw, paw, claw, paw.
Did you play Munkastrap?
I played Munkastrap.
Remind us
Yeah.
who Munkastrap is.
Munkastrap starts the show. Are you blind when you're
Right.
born? And then he kind of narrates the whole first act and then disappears.
That's
Yeah.
right.
He just
Munkastrap's
kinda
the
go away.
star at first.
Yeah.
Then
And
Grisabella shows up.
Shows up and steals the show.
And what was it like being in the junkyard and being, I mean, it was magical.
Oh, it
wasn't
was. It was fun. It was, you know, but the best thing about doing that show was you could eat anything you wanted and dance it off.
All right, well, let's keep walking. Let's
Okay,
let's go to the next one.
Okay,
Let's go this
come on.
way. So in the 80s,
Oh, yeah, late
there was a
80s.
musical. Remember the 80s?
Oh, yeah.
There was a big musical called Starlight Express.
Yep.
It happened here at the
Happened here.
Gershwin.
On
The
Broadway.
entire theater was just a bunch of tracks and
3 stories with these, like an inside of a swimming pool was the first thing, and then tracks that went into the house.
Yeah.
They were banks and everything. You had to learn how to dance and skate on these things.
because you were required to act, sing, dance, and roller skate.
And I had to do acrobatics on roller skates, so that's why my knees are shot.
The Lunt.
The Lund Fontaine.
We call it
yes.
the Lunt. The Lunt Fontaine. Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast. I did it right after Be Our Guest.
Lumiere.
I had a blast. I got to, you know, the costumes are so cumbersome. It's all set backstage. This is where you sit. You can't take it off. You have to sit there with the butane packs.
So
and
you had
oh, yeah, all the time.
literally butane in your fist.
On my strapped on my
Marvel
back,
character.
on my back. But one interesting thing when I was being put into the show, the day of my put in, they tell me that everything on stage is fire retardant except my wig, and the flames are right there. And also, I had my hands down, and they said, whatever you do, don't turn the butane on and light them when they're like this, because if you do this, they'll become a flamethrower.
Well, here we are. We're still on 46th Street, but
Still
the
on
Marquis
46th.
Theater. You did La Cage.
La Cage aux Folles with I stood by for my pal Gary Beach. I got to go on several times with the late Robert Goulet, but just to hear him sing "Song on the Sand" to me, that glorious voice, and he still had it then. He had a great. It just brought tears to my eyes every night. It's a great show.
Hey, look.
Oh,
Hamilton.
Richard
You were
Rodgers.
not in Hamilton.
I was not
a
in
different
Hamilton.
one-word musical.
One word, Susical.
Susical. But it was a troubled show at the
It
time.
was,
They were trying to
because
fix it.
They were, you know what? But they did eventually.
Yeah.
My nieces, they were like very little, came to see me, you know, and they loved it. And from then on, I was the cat in the hat to them. So it was worth it.
This is the Minskoff Theater, the home of Lion King, now and forever. Different cats.
Different cats.
I heard a rumor that you're the house actor.
Well, I actually did 4 shows
I
in a
remember.
row at the Minskoff, so it might be a record.
Were they in a row?
In a row.
4, you did every
4
production at the
consecutive
Minskoff
shows, yeah.
booked Bryan Batt.
Yes,
And we've made it.
we did.
We are all the way on 42nd and 10th Avenue.
It's a nice walk.
Signature Theater. This is a really great off-Broadway home, a cluster of theaters in
Yeah,
here.
three spaces.
And you are in Pay the Rider.
Pay the Rider.
Very timely title.
Yeah, I'm having a blast. It's a great cast, and I'm having a wonderful time doing the play, and I'm here.
We've gotten to see the whole journey of your career today.
Yes, and more to come, hopefully.
I love
Hopefully,
it.
Yeah.
I love it. So good to see you. Thank you so much.
Paul.
I can't
Thank
wait
you
for the
all
next
you
one.
do for Broadway. You're the
Oh,
best.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the Broadway Show. I'm Tamsen Fadal. Let's get back to it. Merrily We Roll Along is finally back on Broadway with a star-studded cast: Daniel Radcliffe, Jonathan Groff, and Lindsay Mendez. And of course, the songs of Stephen Sondheim. Here's Beth Stevens with another edition of Building Broadway.
Thanks, Tamsen. Maria Friedman is British theater royalty, both as a performer and as a director. Now she's bringing her starry revival of George Furth and Stephen Sondheim's Merrily We Roll Along to Broadway. I chatted with her in the rehearsal room. Merrily We Roll Along, when it first came around in 1981 on Broadway, it was a bit of a heartbreak. It had a very short life. So what does it feel for you to be bringing it back to Broadway for the very first time?
I feel very honoured because my dear friend Steve Sondheim, who I miss every minute in these rehearsal rooms, he feels very present at the moment with us. He gave our production his seal of approval and wanted it to come here, and I was working with him on it before he left us so suddenly. So I feel both massive elation that I kind of know we've got this wonderful thing to share with everybody, and also a bit heartbroken that he's not there to share it. It's the most autobiographical piece that he identified with, the making of music, the sharing of music, that journey of offering. And so, yeah, I am excited. I think you can tell.
So you've been working on this piece for a long time.
Yep.
What was your approach when you first started out?
This incredible piece, as you know, goes backwards. We meet these people at the height of their success, having maybe made a few kind of difficult choices in their life, and we watch them quite alone and lost at the start of the play, and we track back and watch and discover with them where they might have made alternative choices, and we watch how that all track all the way back until they were they're young people on the edge of a rooftop with the whole world in front of them, and everything is possible. And so it changes, it morphs according to what age you're watching it from. So young people will have a different feeling to somebody of my age or somebody of your age, and so it keeps growing. There's something in it for everybody, and the score is off the scale brilliant. It's joyous and brilliant. I can't tell you how. Anyway, as you can tell, I'm still a fan.
Well, the key to Merrily We Roll Along is these three friends. So tell me about assembling this cast. It must have been about chemistry.
It's absolutely about chemistry, and it took a good 6 months of casting for me to really kind of feel the right people. Stephen Sondheim is always the cleverest person in the room. He's just, you can't, and what he does is he supplies you with that cleverness. But then the genius of that man is that he leaves a gap for your heart. There's a gap for a shape of a Lindsay Mendez or a Jonathan Groff or a Daniel Radcliffe. And when you put them together, they fill that space that he's left. He's not autocratic in his writing. He doesn't decide what it's got to be. He gives you a flavour of who these people are. And then the actor is allowed just to stretch out and offer all their amazing gifts. So it was a difficult process, but the second I met Jonathan and the joy that man brings into the world, let alone on stage, he and Daniel, they're truly good people. And so that kind of conflict that they have to deal with is dealt with big hearts rather than hard hearts or superficial people. They're honest and genuine. And that's pretty hard to do when you've had as much success as they've had.
That's all for now. I'll see you next time. I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this is The Broadway Show.